Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to Rise and Shine College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, especially Oklahoma football, you're definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football. Welcome into the show, everybody. Mars Jams, Steak Ass Cat, Steel Guard, Boomer129, and Scott V. Welcome into the show, everybody. Make sure that you wipe your feet when you get in here. That is, in other words, hit the like button. Hey, what's up there, Levi? Good to see my man, Benjamin Cisco, as well. Hit that like button and make sure that you check in as you get in, as you are seeing everybody doing here, right here in front of us. Glad to see everybody in here. Happy Monday morning to everybody. Horns down indeed. Let's see. Stink ass. Good morning to everybody. What's up, guys? Hey, man. Happy to see everybody in here. Always love seeing the hashtag Horns Down for Life because, you know, the brand.
The brand has finally returned. Fuck your brand.
It's not a Monday until you start off that way. And then we'll do this for just, you know, just so everybody feels like Coach is here.
You know what, guys? In a nice way, fuck y'all. We don't give a shit.
Hello from Coach as well. What's up there, Kim Hurst? Good to see my man. Glad everybody is in here this early in the morning. How's everybody feeling? Let me know. All right. Going to talk a little bit about, as you saw probably on the thumbnail, panic time in Oklahoma after the scrimmage on Friday night. The message boards lit up. It is that time already, Kimberly K. So glad to see you in here as well. Good morning, good morning, good morning. The message boards obviously lit up, as did Twitter, with doom and gloom about the offense being dominated, Jackson Arnold being outplayed by his backup, Casey Thompson, and, you know, the doom, gloom, scared about what's going to happen heading into the SEC. No, we're not panicking there, Benji, but welcome into the show. Thank you. Jason Southern, good morning. Keaton Galactodon, glad to see my man. 18 days, Benjamin Cisco says, let's go. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know how much of it is everything that we're hearing is this. And to me, what I would tell you is, first and foremost, no matter what you think, if it is the fact that the defense dominated the scrimmage, first of all, it's one day, one practice. There's a couple of reasons I think that you could probably point to as part of that. But what do we expect? I mean, here's the thing. Anything that happens, if the offense comes in and dominates that scrimmage, then that's at the expense of the defense and vice versa, right? So all these years that we've been complaining about crappy defense at Oklahoma, which valid complaint, has been, you know, a lot of it had to do with the fact that, you know, you had an amazing offense here. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have an amazing offense right now, because you do. But there's a defense on the other side of the ball that when you go ones versus ones, you're going to have to earn every yard you get, every catch you get. And the truth of the matter is that some of the guys have been banged up. Obviously, Jaden Gibson's out, but you're seeing some of these guys that are kind of nicked up a little bit. They're not playing in the receiving core if they are even a little bit nicked up. So they're not going to do that, right? They're going to make sure that they're going to make sure that they allow them to heal up, be ready to rock and roll before they stick them in there and go full speed ones versus ones. You get that. The other thing is you kind of need to get some of those younger guys that haven't gotten a ton of reps with the ones some opportunities in that receiving room, because with the Jaden Gibson injury, we haven't had any kind of official word on it yet, but the assumption is he's done for the year. And they may not ever put anything out about it, knowing how they would kind of roll, right? But I wouldn't be voting. Of course, this is what we're going to say. There is no controversy. The bottom line is that you're going to have to realize that there's going to be some times that it doesn't look great in practice. But the beauty of it is that I mean, how many times have you guys heard me say that this is going to be, if not the best defense in the SEC, right up there with them, right? So if that's the case and you're going up against that defense day after day after day, you can take what you can get, but you can know that it's not going to be as tough once you get up against the opposition, the other teams in the league. Again, when you have that kind of a D line, and I think that they're getting pushed that they've never gotten before, we're not hearing a ton about giving up a ton of sacks or anything like that. The offensive line is doing their job. We've heard that, you know, he's been hurried a little bit. You had Brennan Thompson wide open, I think, on the very first play of that scrimmage. He was a little off on his timing, missed him, but he would have been gone. That's another threat that, you know, they're working out. But again, Brennan probably hadn't got a ton of time with the ones throughout the year. So it's one of those things that timing-wise, you're kind of looking at it being what it is. Again, this is a great problem to have. Great problem to have. You can't, it goes to show you that you can't really judge anything until you actually see them on the field, right? If you want to freak out, if they don't come out and look really good in the first 2 or 3 games, then do it. We're not going to do it here. Let me run through and say hello to the folks that just popped in. Hey, Chicken Man, my dude. Yep. Hey, look at there. Benji with words of wisdom here. Defense should look the best. People like to freak out just to forget. Yeah, dude, they do. And message board, what I would tell you is that message boards, terrible place to hang out. Terrible place to hang out. Because of what I saw on Twitter, I started laughing and I was like, oh, I gotta go see this. Yeah, it's full blown sky is falling in there, you know. Nuclear winter, here we come. Crazy stuff, right? Supposed fans calling for BBU to be fired. Define the word. Casual. Supposed fans, sorry. Yeah, I don't know that that's what they're doing. There was a few. You know what I mean? But look, man, I can tell you that some of the best offensive linemen in the league are going to struggle with this defensive line. There's just no two ways around it. You don't get a break from any of them. You try to slide your protection to one place or the other, you're going to open up a hole somewhere else. These guys are just too good. And this is the reason that you're happy that Brent Venables is the head coach in Norman. It would be a concern if the offense was getting the better. It would mean our defense hasn't improved. I agree. And I think that the problem is that it opens up that same song and dance about the concerns where they're talking about the offensive line isn't good or that Jackson Arnold's not going to be good as a first-year starter. Again, we could sit here and argue back and forth about this all damn day long, and I'm not going to do it. But to me, every day that you get out there and you compete ones versus ones, you get better on both sides of the ball because we've got a bunch of guys that are competitive. They don't want to lose, and iron does sharpen iron. What's up there, Mars Jams? Good to see you, man. Good to see you, sir. Kimberly K, I would much rather our dominant defense expose them than one of our many enemies to do it. Allows time to fix things as best they can. Reframe, no need for panic. No, absolutely not. I agree, and I think you're right. I mean, this is the time that this is what fall camp is about. It's time to get them, you know, and we've heard a ton that Venables hasn't, in fact, this goes all the way back to the bowl game practices. He was sending everything at Jackson Arnold and has every practice they've had since bowl game practices when they knew he was going to start. They've disguised things. They've given him looks that he wouldn't, you know, he wasn't expecting to see how he handled it. From what we hear from him all the time, every time he's spoken about Jackson Arnold, it's been glowing that, you know, he's getting it. His leadership is great, blah, blah, blah. Now, does it bother me that Casey Thompson came in and maybe he looked better, this or that, whatever? No. Casey Thompson's been playing football for 7 years in college. He should be fairly, used to seeing things that he maybe hadn't seen. There shouldn't be a whole lot he hasn't seen. And we know that Casey could play. Injuries has been his problem. He left Texas more or less because Sark, and Sark loved him. I think Sark liked him that first year. They didn't win enough games, right? And you're not going to keep a guy that you didn't recruit. You're probably going to go with somebody that you did, like Quinn Ewers. So that's why he ended up at Nebraska. Things didn't work out there. Obviously, Crouch lost his job. So he ended up with his old coach from Texas down at South Florida, got hurt again. Now he's back at Oklahoma, or in Oklahoma, where his dad played. And, he's got a lot of, but he's got a lot of experience. That's the thing. So this isn't that's not a bad thing either, if that's even the case. I mean, look, we heard that Arnold threw a couple of interceptions. Okay. I know the only interception that I've seen, or, and I guess there had been two of them, that one being the second one, was the one that everybody sees on Twitter where Peyton Bowen went up and had an OBJ catch with one hand. Oh, what are you going to do about that? That's another good sign. The guy went up there and made a stupid, disgusting play that 9 out of 10 people would never make as a DB. Most DBs are DBs because they can't catch the football, as you hear people tell it. It's not a quarterback controversy. Don't start, Bevo. Let's see. What do we got? Brennan Thompson running great routes or busted secondary coverage. It's the only time that he got loose was that very first play. Brennan Thompson is a freaking 10-1 guy in the 100. It doesn't take but this much of a screw up and you're done. He's gone. We saw that in the bowl game last year. Brennan Thompson's a bad dude, man. As far as speed goes, I mean, he may be the fastest guy, but there's a lot of speed there. Let's see. Yeah. Chicken Little. Yeah, Chicken Little. Our offense will be fine. Hey, good morning, Drew. Good to see you. Iron sharpens iron. Yeah, I'm not worried about it, bro. And the first 3 games, look, they're going to do what they're going to do. We're just going to go ahead and put you in timeout for a minute there, Bevo, until you calm your nerves. They said that they, overall, I don't think that they looked that bad at all. I think that there were some differences in getting on the same page with some of the newer receivers that they were running in there, because aside from Jaden Gibson, you had a bunch of guys that were in the game and running reps with the first team, probably for the first couple of times of, fall camp, because they had a couple of other guys that are just a little banged up. They didn't have them playing in that scrimmage particularly. This is not a bad thing either, but as far as like the interceptions, I didn't get too deep into reading what the route was or what, may have been the issue. Maybe he missed a throw. Maybe the DB just made an unbelievable play like we saw Peyton Bowen make last week. When you go up and make a one-handed grab on a contested play, it is what it is. But in the end, it's easy to sit here and say because he played there and whatever you want to say about Casey Thompson, he's not there anymore. He was a good enough leader to get you a big lead in the Red River shootout that you ended up getting blown. And it wasn't because of Casey. It was because Caleb Williams came in and engineered an amazing comeback. The bottom line is nobody expects Casey to come in and be the starter here. He's not the starter. He won't be the starter. In fact, I would tell you that more than likely, from the way it sounds, they're also very much enjoying what they're seeing out of Michael Hawkins. Is he the emergency, in case of emergency, break glass quarterback? Probably, because of his experience. So if you come into a game where Jackson gets hurt, you got a lead or something like that, yeah, you're probably going to toss him in there because he can milk that lead. I figured that's how that probably works out. If it's a injury that takes a week or 2 weeks or whatever for Jackson to come back, I think they probably move to Hawkins and figure out what he can do because he brings so much other stuff to the table. That's just where I would be on it. Yeah. Dude, Bevo is, I swear, does he go to as many live streams that Texas has as he comes into ours? Oh, Billy Own. We are not putting that up on the screen there, buddy. What is up with that? Billy Own 2005. Is that your name? Bill Leone 2005. Come on, really? The experts think that Arch Manning is significantly superior to Jackson Arnold. Why is that the case? If that was the case, why didn't Arch Manning win High School Player of the Year in the nation? Why didn't, I don't buy that at all. What experts? I haven't even heard that. Me too. All right, let's see what. Kim, what was the first one? One interception was a tip ball at the line of scrimmage. I read that. The other was a 95-yard pick six by Danny Stussman. Okay. All right. Well, that one's probably not one that you want to write home about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. All right, Billy on. We're the doom and gloom stuff. It's not for here. I know that the on the thumbnail it said to panic. That was a joke. Don't panic. I don't want to hear this stuff. Don't be silly. Floor is 8-4. I think, yeah, maybe. Billy on is freaking out. Josh Crenshaw, 9-3. Yeah. I would tell you that I think that, yeah, I don't think that Texas goes 9-3. I think that there's some things that they have to figure out too. I've got them at like 8-4, something like that. Jimmy Lee Baker, what's up, my man? All right, we can run him out of here for a little while. Don't need that. The O-line looking. I think they're doing their job from what I understand. They're battling in there, man. And that's the thing is when you go up against, I don't know that they've completely figured out what they're doing. It sounds to me like the guys that were already here, the younger guys, not in transfers, are making it tough for these guys that you kind of penciled in as starters to get the job. We know that Bill Bedenbaugh is the kind of coach that he doesn't give a job to anybody. There's no such thing as a free ride. Just because we, had you come in as a transfer doesn't mean anything. You have to win the job. So that's a really good sign that you've got guys like Joshua Bates kind of fighting in there. Who else? They talked about Heath Ozeta, Jake Taylor a lot, kind of talking on the edges and the tackles and stuff like that. And that was one of the things that I kind of wanted to bring up. It's funny. I was listening to watching Ruffino and Joe, and then I did get a real chuckle out of JD Piquel's video from the other day of let's have a talk, Oklahoma. Oh, he's coming back. All I did was just put him in timeout for a minute. He's not gone. He'll be back unless he doesn't want to come back, but he's a clown. Yeah, he's going to come in here and he probably isn't even an Oklahoma fan. So, JD is back. JD is whack. That's funny. That was it was kind of funny. I've got those up so where I can pull that in. But obviously talking a little bit, and the show wasn't really about Oklahoma, but you had Rufino and Joe talking about it a little bit. I'll let me play the first one, and then we'll kind of.
Let me ask you a question, because I consider Oklahoma to be in that 2 through 7, 2 through 8 mix, right in the SEC. I'm very curious to see that you have them at 10 here at your power rankings. Can you explain why?
Look, I think that their defense is going to be very formidable. I think that this whole front seven that they have is super strong. It's very reminiscent to what Venables had when he was the defensive coordinator at Clemson. Beefy in the middle, some pretty underrated linebackers. Danny Stutzman's going to be great. I worry about that offensive line. When you're trying to rotate that many players in, it is not typically a recipe.
All right, yeah, I'm not doing too much of him, because that was, to me, this is basically what you're coming at. It's the same song and dance, right? And you also had kind of the same thing out of his counterpart. And I like Blake, and I like both of these guys. I think they're okay. But I would tell you that it's the same song and dance, and it's kind of one of those deals that it's easy to pick up on one little narrative and kind of run with it, right? And the truth is, you don't have time. You haven't had time to show it on the field yet, and until you do, you're not going to really be able to combat it, right? But just kind of looking at, let's go into what Blake said.
Look, it appears to, and I'm throwing this out there, they're in my fall camp intel meeting Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold threw 2 picks, okay, this weekend. Casey Thompson allegedly outplayed him. Well, look, we'll get to that in a little while. Here's the thing. I don't know what to do with Oklahoma, because I look at their schedule. Joe, they come into the SEC. They got Tennessee at home, then Auburn on the road. And everybody's going to just assume, all their fans are going to pencil Auburn as a win. You better not do that going into Jordan-Hare.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. So, Joe, let's look at their schedule in the SEC. Let's say you split Tennessee and Auburn. Let's say you split against Texas and South Carolina. Joe, the last 4 games that they have in this conference are pretty brutal in and of themselves. You're at Ole Miss, you're at Missouri, and they don't want to hear the argument about Mizzou, and I get that. They have Alabama at home, then they go to LSU. Joe, I don't disagree with you on them being at 10, because I look at their schedule. Even if they do beat Tennessee and Auburn, they're a middle of the pack team potentially.
Middle of the pack team potentially. All right. We've heard that argument as well. Okay. The reason that I bring that up is it's just when you hear these things, and first of all, Chris, I told you what the negative criticism was. He was regurgitating the same negative stuff that we've heard about Oklahoma, that their offensive line is patchwork and brand new. There's no way that along with a brand new quarterback is gonna equate to success in their first year in the SEC. Right? He's calling them a middle of the pack team. It is what it is. Right. And when it comes to Blake Rufino and Joe DeLeon, I mean, look, they try to cover as much as they can about everything. Right. And look, it's real topical. I've told you guys all this. So many of look, if you are, I try to look at a team. If I'm going to make comments about a football team like Texas or, USC, we've talked a lot about, or we know tons about Georgia, the teams that I feel like that Oklahoma is going to play this year, I know them well already, right? I've paid a lot of attention to them. Missouri, Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is going to be really good. I'm not sure what I think about LSU just yet. We're going to find out week 0 whenever they go up against USC if they're going to be able to have any kind of defense at all, right? We're going to have to wait and see. I also think that there's a lot of questions about SC as well. I think you'll find out a lot of stuff about those two teams in that first week. But again, most of these guys, and first off, you got to think about it. They're looking to get clicks and people to watch their show and stuff. And so even if, I'm convinced that what JD Piquel did was he erred on the side of where they're going to lose the games that are close. So basically all of those toss-up games, he's got them as losing it, because otherwise he wouldn't have done that. I mean, even, when you look at what the models say at a lot of these power rankings and stuff, they pretty much have them going 3-3 in these toss-up games. JD would have had to have had them go 0-for-6 in 6 toss-up games, right? If they go 3-for-6, then they're more or less, if they go ahead and win the games that they're favored to win, which you would expect them to do so, that's a 9-3 season. Okay. Look, I could see them losing a game that they shouldn't lose and winning a game that they're more or less not expected to win too. It all still kind of rounds itself out to 9-3. In the end, you have to look at it in terms of the negativity is going to be there. Why it's there, I don't know. There's this want to prop up Texas when, for one season, and this intense need to kind of push Oklahoma down. I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of the middle of the road teams of the SEC know that it does not help them to have an Oklahoma program that kicked their ass anytime they played against them anyway, like Tennessee or Missouri or Ole Miss or some like Auburn. They played them in that bowl game not that too terribly long ago, beat the hell out of them. A lot of these programs don't want to hear and don't want to know that you have Oklahoma coming in, right? And probably the same thing with Texas too, because of the way they recruit. The way these guys are looking at it is shit. We have a tough time recruiting against the big boys as it is. Now you just added two new programs that are going to be able to recruit better than us and going to make it harder on us. It is what it is. But again, the reason that I even brought any of this up is I don't think it's worth getting too freaking worked up about it. It's a scrimmage. It's a practice. Anybody that's played football knows that some days are good, some days are bad. You're going to have days at practice that it doesn't go great. You need those days, to be honest with you. If everything was perfect right out of the gate and you don't get tested at any point until you play against opposition, that's probably not a good thing. Because how are you going to respond to it? How do you respond to a bad day? That's important. And I think that what really lacks whenever you start talking about some of these things is just nuance, right? It's an immediate, we had our knucklehead Bevo in here a second ago saying there's a quarterback controversy in Norman. First, and I know what you were doing. It's halfway funny, to be quite honest with you. But there is that knee-jerk reaction and a need to do it even from Oklahoma fans. There is this knee-jerk reaction to everything they hear. It's an immediate, I'm gonna jump to a conclusion that may or may not be right. If you're not there watching every practice and a part of every day, you don't hear anybody freaking out from the coaching staff. You don't hear the players. They waited until Saturday night until they made some of them available to the media to talk. How many of them were freaking out? None of them. Practice happens. Things happen in practice. It's not that big a deal. Again, I'm glad to see that. Yeah. And I feel like if I want anybody to be dominant right now, yeah, it's that defense. We need to see that. And it's good for an offensive line that is quote unquote new to be able to do that. Now, one thing I wanted to pick at a little bit about what Joe DeLeon was saying there. He got into regurgitating a lot of what we always hear. He's talking about concerns with the patchwork offensive line and having a first-year quarterback, despite the fact that Venables' defense is formidable, right? He said that. What I got to, and I didn't get to that part because I didn't want to spend the whole minute there. But when he started talking about having to replace your offensive tackle, he didn't really talk about the fact that Tyler Guyton was the right tackle. He was saying Walter Rouse was great for Oklahoma last season, and replacing him is going to be a tough thing to do if you watch that. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Walter Rouse went in the 6th round of the NFL draft. Tyler Guyton, the right tackle, actually was the one that was protecting the blind side of left-handed quarterback Dylan Gabriel. Kind of it reversed, right? Generally speaking, the left tackle is the one that is that good one. Now, if you'll remember what we were talking about the last few days, when we start talking about this offensive line some more. Who was playing right tackle at the end of the year? Because it wasn't Tyler Guyton. It was Jacob Sexton. The next expected first rounder off of the Bill Bedenbaugh tree on offensive line. He played towards the end of last year. Now he probably either rolls over into left tackle unless they don't need him there. Maybe they need him. He's versatile enough you can kind of put him anywhere. But you had him a lot there protecting the blind side. Tyler Guyton is immediately a first-round pick of the Cowboys, and they said he's their left tackle right away. Why? Because of what he learned under Bill Bedenbaugh. Again, this is not worth worrying about, folks. How they figure it out on the rest of it, I think it's great. I don't care if it takes even through those first 3 games to kind of figure out what that rotation is. It sounds to me like it's getting more and more working itself out all the time, but I'm not worried about it. I'm still not worried about it. What guy irks you? Oh, Ruffino on him. Yeah. 2. Yeah, oh, dude. And that was the other point I wanted to make. I love it. Well, all of this that goes on, everything that's being said, I love it. Right? I love it when that the fact that you have so many people that nobody's really giving Oklahoma a chance, because you know what? Some of these teams are going to continue to overlook them. You know, I really do hope that Texas beats Michigan early on, because they'll probably if they do, they're almost definitely going to go into the Red River game undefeated and thinking that they got it. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Yeah, no doubt. It's going to happen. They have, and let's not forget that you have the 2nd ranked secondary in the country according to what's his name? Help me there. And linebacker room. Plus you have a defensive line that is killing it, right? It's just, you have a defense that should come in and be one of the top 5 defenses in the country. It's certainly going to be a top 2 or 3 defense in the SEC if all goes well. They're ranting and raving about the 2nd team defense from the other day as well. They were killing it too. We heard about Michael Boganowski killing it out there. The safety play was great all the way around. Now, one of the things they were worried about is you had, I guess, Gentry got a little nicked up again, didn't play a whole lot. They held him out of that one as well, another shoulder thing. But nobody sounds too particularly worried, but that's not something anyone at Oklahoma, any Oklahoma fan wants to hear, is that Gentry tweaked his shoulder again. I still think it's going to be okay. Yeah, no doubt. JD was definitely engagement for me. Mm-hmm. And I love this. What's up there, T Boomer? Good to see you, my man. Yeah, no doubt. This is both of these. If you ever played football, you know the offense is always about 4 weeks behind the defense, and that's when you have a good defense, and especially a veteran defense, veteran-led defense like you have. Yeah. Everett's dad doesn't seem worried. He's on a few message board. None of them are. What's up there, Sooner fan 71? The media loves Oklahoma. Bevo, this is funny. No. What does that mean? Some days may be good, some days may be shit. Yep. Love that. Okay. And that's the other thing that's that's funny about that is I think that anybody that, again, if you followed what's happened in the last couple of years, there's a number of games that you could, I don't care that their ranking was what it was, right? Offensively, as far as putting up yards, putting up points, stuff like that. The games that they lost last season in particular, it was poor performances by Jeff Lebby as a play caller, and therefore they didn't really look very good. He never seemed to get a rhythm in any, actually the 3 games right after the Red River game. And he called a great game in the Red River, but he let Dylan go. It seemed like anytime that Dylan didn't get out there and have a perfect start, that he kind of backed off on what he was doing calling the game. Again, I would tell you that Jeff Lebby he's called plays for 2 years. He's called plays for 2 years. Seth Luttrell's called plays for what, 5, 6, 7 years? And he was part of it. They're going to make some changes to what they're doing, but the play calling stuff, I don't think that's a big deal. He was already part of the staff. He was already working with quarterbacks quite a bit last year, doing a lot of that stuff. It's not a new voice in the room. But as far as Zach Alley's concerned, on the other side of the ball, why is that working out so well? Why? Because, well, he's supposedly a clone of Brent Venables. You heard it a bunch more from these guys later this week. What? Did you just call Baker Mayfield overrated? Oh, no. That never works. That was dumb. Double timeout on that one, buddy. Yeah, the underdog roll is a good thing. Best offensive line coach in the country. He is indeed. He is indeed. Mm-hmm. I think that Ole Miss will probably be pretty good. I think that the question that you have about Ole Miss is whether or not they're going to win those games that they're not favored to win, right? Games against Oklahoma that may be favored to be a close game, or like LSU if they are as good as what a lot of these preseason polls. That's the weird thing too, is you look at what LSU is and what they weren't last year was worth a shit on defense, right? Apparently they're talking about playing him at middle linebacker this year, which is weird to me. Look, why you wouldn't put the guy, I mean, and we were talking about obviously Harold Perkins, yeah, that they're still not going to stick him over there and let him rush the passer. Weird to me, right? Their defense is definitely, it was, well, historically bad last season. They didn't do very well as far as getting guys in the portal that would be an immediate impact. That's concerning. You lost probably your best secondary guy. They struggled in the secondary as it was over some kind of a filming his sex kind of deal. And he got in trouble and arrested and is off the team as far as what I've heard. Or, I mean, I haven't heard of him coming back or when he might come back. It was, doesn't sound like he may come back at all. If you don't have those guys and they already weren't good in the secondary, I get that they have a better coaching staff, but you got a bunch of young guys and guys that weren't that good before that you got to coach up in and hope that defense is a lot better than it was a year before, because you can't expect your offense at LSU to be as good as it was last year with 3 first-round guys on that offense. I mean, that's a lot of expectations. You got to at least figure that they're going to regress a little bit. So that's what makes me wonder why everybody thinks LSU is so good. Now, they give Brian Kelly credit for his year 3s everywhere else he's been. A lot of people don't want to give credit for what year 3 Brent Venables defenses are, but that's okay. I think we'll find out a lot about them long before you ever play them at the end of the year. I'm gonna let the season, the game, the results speak themselves. Root for OU to the max, see how it unfolds. Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Texas will have a better scoring defense than Oklahoma at the end of the season. It's a good thing you put $5 on that. Do you want to put some money on that as far as a bet? Because I'm going to tell you, I'd love to make that bet. Love it. All sizzle, no steak. That's right. Not worried about the offense. They're practicing against elite deep. Ooh, oh yeah. No doubt. Yeah. What's going on here? Let me get to. One second. Oh, there he is going. Okay. All right, guys, looking at this, we've already had over 300 people in here viewing. We've got 26 likes. Come on now. Wipe them feet as you come in. Come on now. Let's see. Too many replacements. Let's see that are not. Yeah. And they're not as good as the Oklahoma defense. Oh, we are winning at UM in 3 weeks, sir. Like I said, I hope you do. I hope you do. That means that we'll go into the Red River, both undefeated possibly, and it'll be a better win. Yeah, no doubt. I like this. Hey, this is, look, JT, I love this comment. Scripted scrimmage, putting both offense and defense in tough situations. You're supposed to work on hard things in fall practice. Not everything's supposed to go good. That's how you learn. This is how you learn things, you know? It's one of the things that people used to talk about this a lot when Lincoln is there, and they've talked about it a lot this summer and spring and summer and now fall at USC, is that he doesn't like for those guys to go ones and ones and like hit and do all that stuff and compete. The teams that are really good do that a lot, right? And you're going to risk some injuries at times, and you don't want certain guys. I mean, obviously you don't want your quarterback getting hit. I get that. But I've never heard of like the stuff with Dion and him talking about don't touch the receivers and don't touch Travis Hunter and all that. That's a little wild to me, right? Travis Hunter's a defensive player. Now, if you're worried about him getting banged up, Coach Prime, maybe don't play him so much. You know, don't give him 150 snaps a game. That maybe helps. But I would say that I think those teams that get out there and compete hard in practices and stuff like that, that's important. And I think you're going to see that. If you're not putting them in situations where they can fail and learn from it in practice, where are they going to learn and fail? On the field in games, which gives you more opportunities to lose, right? I don't care if Jackson throws an interception every damn day of practice in the fall. I don't care. I don't care. Those 2 interceptions out of all these practices, they've had now, over 10 practices. So that was what he's got 4 total now. So what? If it was double that, so what? He's going up against one of the best secondaries in the country, one of the best defenses in the country every day. So what? They go 1s versus 1s every day. That's right, 5 till midnight. Glad I left that up there for a second. Colt McCoy never won a natty. The chromosomes is funny. JT Rose. Yeah. Look, I think Mizzou's probably worried about all the shit that their coach and their fans have been talking since everything that happened with Williams Nwaneri, and then of course Caden Green after that. That was wild. Hog Wild Podcast. That's our boy SEC Mo right here. You had surgery. Man, I hope you are feeling better, my guy. And I just saw your text message. I'll hit you back whenever this is over. Feel better. Yeah. And that's I think that would be hopeful, Greg. Talent-wise, they look good. The GOAT is gone, and no Caleb Downs. I think that talent-wise, of course, you got to expect it. And from everything that we hear, and I trust most of those guys that we talk to from the Alabama creators side of things. You've heard me say a bunch of times, don't get me predicting the downfall of Alabama. I'm not doing it. I'm going to have to see that one first. I'm not going to be the guy that thinks that he knows that one, because I don't see that really. From what we hear, Womack is one of those dudes, man. He's a really good in fact, I heard that from, as far as the CFB professor, they grade every coach in the country, right? They're the ones that graded and said that Sark is, as a head coach, completely middle of the road at best, right? When they look at, as far as defensive coordinators are concerned, they look at Womack as one of the best in the country, that he has had very good seasons. So when you have talent like they have at Alabama, you still have the GOAT down the hallway that he can go talk to about certain things. Can't be a bad thing. I think that they're going to be pretty good on defense also. As far as what I still think Oklahoma may have the best defense in the league. If there's a better one, I would say it's probably Georgia, right? The rest of them, we're going to have to see it. I think that they're probably better at Ole Miss than they've been in a long time. Obviously, you go and grab some of the guys that they added for the trenches. They were struggling there. But again, we need to see that from Lane Kiffin. We got to see it from Lane Kiffin, is that they can put it all together and win those games that you got to win. Basically, he's won one big game, and that was against LSU last year. LSU and its historically bad defense. And if it won for a drop touchdown pass, they probably don't win that one either. Yeah, that one worried me a bit. I don't like that either. I'll give you that, Ricky. What? Offense absolutely lighting up the defense and getting 0 picks would be much more concerning. Yeah. Yeah. I think after surgery, yeah, that's one of those things that with shoulders, you know how those are. It could be an issue for him. I think that they're doing right by keeping him out of that practice. But from what we heard, you've got some young guys that are stepping up and showing that they may be ready to rock and roll. You've heard things about the guy that they brought in from San Diego State as well. You keep hearing a lot of good things about the guys that were already there, Makari Vickers and then Jacoby Johnson. That's the one that I'm glad to hear that. He's a big, tall guy that's got, over 200 pounds. He's a big hitter, stud athlete. Love to hear that, right? You still got Woody Washington, which means that, that you still have some A lot of experience, a lot of interceptions in college that is still there to kind of lead that cornerback room with or without Gentry. They want to get him in some situations where they can have him more at nickel, things like that, what he probably would play in the NFL. But he's able to do what he's able to do. And there's a reason why he's been playing basically since he was a freshman at OU, because he's that guy. Yeah, I didn't say I believe that they're going to beat them. I think that they probably don't beat Michigan there, Drew. I think that Michigan's going to turn that shit into the kind of game that is a problem. OL rotation problem is great. Criticism, SEC's a trench heavy. If Oklahoma is rotating too heavily, that's not. I expect out of sync issues, communication issues. This is why you do it now. Yeah. Jimmy Lee Baker, you ain't wrong. Look, this is what I said in the short that I put out, over the weekend. One season don't mean shit. And believe me, until I see that Sark can do this consistently. And I mean, when you lost probably the best defensive coach you had, the guy that, I'm in agreement with Chicken that Bo Davis was the guy that kind of set the standard and what they had as their culture to be pretty hard-nosed. He turned 3-star guys that he didn't recruit into first and second round picks on the interior of that defensive line. If they're soft there, nothing matters in the back after that. If they're not getting any kind of push and pressure on quarterbacks, what do you do now? If you're soft in the middle and they can run right up the middle on you, it won't matter what your secondary is like. I think they added good pieces in the back end. But again, you're going to have to show me that you're going to have the same kind of defense. And Sark has not really shown us that in the past. It took as long as it took for them to get to that point. He's done a great job on offense. That's what he is. But I'm telling you, man, Texas is what Texas is. And if they do fall into a losing streak, let's say, even if they were to win the Michigan game, and that's a big if for me, to me, they lose back-to-back games with Oklahoma and then Georgia. What happens then? What happens then? If you lose the Michigan game and those two games, then what? It could all come apart because they're not used to winning. It's the same thing I feel about Missouri. I don't give a shit about them winning 11 games last year. Don't care. They went 6-7 2 years in a row and 5-5 the year before that in the COVID year. This is their first winning season under Drink. And all of a sudden, they're going to the playoff. What are you, shitting me? And they lost a ton of the guys that helped them kind of be there. Yeah, probably. But, I mean, how big is that, though? Seth is an established O coordinator and former head coach. Yeah. I'm way behind. I got to be way, way, way behind. No. Benji, who cares about when the last time somebody played for the national championship? It was more recent than guys that played for the national championship at Texas. It was. It would be the last Florida Natty was the last time. So what? None of that shit matters today. None of those coaches are there. None of those players are there. Why are we talking about stuff that don't matter? Yeah, I think he did. Gave him a green jersey. Man, I'm way the hell behind you guys. Bishop Frank. Who's keeping up with the picks thrown in practice? Apparently everybody. Yeah. What's up there, Bryce? Mm. No doubt. Look, this idea that look one-dimensional. What does that mean? I think you're one-dimensional too against them. How are you gonna run the ball against them in there in the middle? I think you're gonna struggle there. And it'll only be one-dimensional if they get out ahead of you, and then they'll just milk the shit out of it and run. They're gonna get behind their big dog offensive line. They've got a really good running back that's still there. I think Alex Orji's probably a better runner than he is a passer. So yeah, they're going to be a little. That's the way they like to play. That's the way they play really well. They hit you in the mouth and make you deal with it. I think that's a bad thing for them. Ask anyone inside the program, they'll tell you that Jeff Banks and Kyle Flood was the culture guys. Yeah, of course they're saying that now. I don't believe that. Of course they would say that right now, Bevo. What's up there, Coach Ricks? We'll see, Bryce. We'll find out. Onikuno Sean. Teams 1-7 on SEC preseason poll, all going to the playoff. I read it on the internet. Yeah. All 7 of them. Yeah. Pretty wild, isn't it? Oh, okay. Who gets the shit? What's up, Sooner Cowboys? Yeah, they're going to bully ball.
The brand has finally returned. Fuck your brand.
Evo. Here we go. All right, I'm all the way to it. I got through them all. I didn't probably read some of them that maybe I should have. This is where you guys should probably do a super chat because there's a bunch of people in here and it's going to be hard to see them all. Sounds like Forrest Gump. Let's see. Who'd you say? See, have a buddy who is a big fan, said the ceiling would be 8 and 9, but they're happy with Levy. The ceiling is 8 or 9 with Mississippi State? Holy cow. I don't see that. Their games, they got pretty much every good team aside from like Oklahoma this year. And seems like most of the tough ones are like, or even the ones that you might think would be a toss-up game or road games. So they got to go to, don't they have to go to Florida, or are they hosting Florida in like the 3rd week? I don't know, man. I think it's tough. Get them likes up. Thank you. Yeah, we need them likes to go up, boys. He definitely has a reboot. Now, what he does have, though, is he's going to have an offense that can kind of go out there and put up points if you believe at all in Blake Shapen, which I don't. But I think he'll be better under Jeff than he was under the last regime with Baylor because they were trash. When have you not been able to run the ball? That's the question. That's the question you got. When have you not been able to run the ball? Well, you couldn't make it a yard. You couldn't run it a yard against Oklahoma in the Red River game. Couldn't make it a yard. So there is that. They're going to have a defensive line that's easy as good as the one that you went up against last year. Let's pull up the schedule and look. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. I have it right here. Maybe. All right. Can you guys see that pretty good? Or do you want me to blow it up a little bit? I can blow it up some. But what I need to do is like this. I'll take that banner off around it too. And fix this a little bit. All right, can you guys see that pretty good? No? All right, so we were talking about Mississippi State. Eastern Kentucky, there's a win. Arizona State is not a guarantee, though. It's not. And even though I don't think they're very good, you got to go on the road. They struggled with them last year. That's not really a guarantee. Toledo, they should win that. But, okay, they do get Florida. It's in Starkville, then Texas, then a bye week. Then they got Georgia, A&M, Arkansas, UMass, Tennessee, Mizzou, Ole Miss. It's a tough-ass schedule. And on the road at Oxford, they get Mizzou at home. That one might be a win, but they're not going to win the game at Tennessee and Knoxville. No way. I don't know what's going to happen with the Arkansas game. I guess possibly. I don't see any way in hell that they beat A&M or Georgia. That's just me. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Okay. Again, I think that if it turns into that kind of game where you good luck with that. Good luck with that, because that's not the kind of game that Sark wants to be in, to where it's just a running game and to where you're not able to jump out in front, because that's when, Quinn Xanax comes into play with his fragile psyche. Josh Pate says OU doesn't have a hard schedule. Well, let's look at it. It's right there in front of you. Those first 3 weeks, not so hard. Tennessee, you got a lot of people that are saying Tennessee's going to be in the playoff. From everything we hear, Jordan-Hare Stadium is brutal. Brutal. Then you got Texas. Ruffino said that, let's say you split between Texas and South Carolina. Okay. I think if you were to lose that Auburn game, then maybe that South Carolina you're not going to lose, because you're not going to be overlooking anybody in that case. If you're coming off a Texas win and you're still undefeated, South Carolina is concerning, because you've got Ole Miss the week after that. You could see them looking ahead, and Ole Miss still being, I don't know about undefeated at that point, but let's see. Let's look at that. They should be by the time they play Oklahoma. Well, they could have one loss, maybe LSU at Baton Rouge. But probably not much more than that, right? Kentucky, South Carolina, they should win both those games. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I didn't think that he's great at throwing the ball down the field, but you never know. Look, here's the one thing that they do. They kind of lull you to sleep by running the ball, and then they'll try to hit you deep. They're not. That's kind of what we saw Harbaugh doing that the year that they won in the shoe, and they ran the hell out of the ball, and then all of a sudden they hit them deep on a couple of plays, and they took the game over like that, and never really were in danger after that. And this was in Columbus, So I don't know, man. Why do you think such a thing there, Professor? Welcome into the show, by the way. That's what I said. Only 6 play in the top 15. So easy. Yeah, it is what it is, man. What else you got? What else you got, guys? South Texas. Is that a yes on what bet? Well, I didn't see that you said you wanted to bet. What do we got here? Let me see where you were at. What's the bet? Just say it again in there. I'll bet you. Was elite verdant. Okay. Look, we'll find out. I like their wide receiver core, but I hate their quarterback. Okay. We'll see what he is. We'll see what he is, man. Pate and JD have lost. What did Pate say? Is he bad mouthing Oklahoma all of a sudden? I thought he was like everybody's favorite podcast guy. In that space anyway. Anything else you guys want to see on this schedule? Or they all want to talk about from this schedule? South Texas, what was the bet you were saying? I got a bill on it, but you're gonna have to put it into like our I'll do it like oh boy, Uncle Lou does it, where you have to put it in I'll write it down, and then but you got to send the money into either like Cash App or Venmo or something like that to hold it, to have a bet like that, because I don't trust guys from the internet, just to say that. Who does? What did you say? Getting mad at those guys is like getting mad at Big Game Boomer. Big Game Boomer is an idiot. If he was worried about one Thorn, he would have grabbed one in the portal. How many guys do you think were out there? I don't know. I don't know that I think it's that easy. I think there's some nuance to it. I think that he thinks because he didn't call the plays last year that he can do more with Thorn. But we've seen him have one decent season, and then we saw him terrible after that. I don't know that I buy it. Yeah, and this I agree with Cowboy Cool. Let's see, what did you say? Pate was talking about OU scrimmage last night. He watched OU breakdown video and thought he had a lock on what OU is. Man, that sounds about right. Oh, I could see that. I could see that. And they're not. And this is absolutely right. Portal pickups are sure things, and they aren't. That's correct. Except unless they're, Texas receivers, right, Benji? Dude, I'm all over this South Texas. Yeah. The Cash App is in the description. Send it to the Cash App. Write it down. Write because you got South Texas, you're gonna need to put your name and what the bet was or whatever in the notes, and then I'll hold it there. If you want to do it, lock it in. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, hey, listen, that's what I felt like. And this is why I've said so many times that I don't know that I buy into that they're going to be as good on offense. Now, is that the thing that I think is going to be the worst thing about Texas? No. I think their defense is going to struggle. And I think that's why, and particularly on the defensive line, which is an issue. But do I think they're going to be pretty good overall on offense? Probably. Probably. I mean, that's what Sark does best. And it's not like they went and got, bums to come and play. And they've also got some guys that have been in the program that are probably pretty good too. So we'll see. Every single game on our schedule is winnable. I would agree. I would agree. No, I guess not. We actually like Benji. He's a member here, so he can hang around. But like some of these guys are definitely tough to deal with. The mouth breathers are hedging on the negative. And 129, I would agree with this. I would agree with this. But, and this is what I've been saying. It's tough to replace those guys. We're talking first and second round guys. And not just that. It's not, look, if you still had Bo Davis, I think that was the worst thing that Sark could have allowed. Like, to me, you go to Chris Del Conte and be like, man, make it so, can we make it so much that he won't go back to LSU? I mean, we make it that much and like do whatever to get his kid. I don't care what you do. You can't allow him to get out of there, because going into the SEC more than anything else, the most important piece is that side on the D line. They've talked about it a lot. You had Barry Trammell regurgitating his thing again on 365 Sports the other day. Same thing. Oh, numbnuts, there he is. They don't. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And we don't have to continue. And it is a solid. Thank you for that part, Benji. We don't have to continue talking about this. Again, I think that was just one of the things that I wanted to bring up, just that I'm not the least bit concerned about what we're seeing. I think I would be more concerned. The point I was getting at was I would be a hell of a lot more concerned if you had the offense dominating the defense at this point of fall practices, particularly when you have that much leadership on that side of the ball, plus the talent that they've brought in. It's been Venables understood the assignment when he got here in a way that Lincoln Riley has yet to figure out. And it's you should be super grateful that Lincoln is gone and at USC, because of the fact that, and he knew he didn't want anything to do with the SEC. Didn't want anything to do with the SEC. Still doesn't want anything to do with the SEC. That is clear. But it's a good thing. And whatever happens, look, if this offense is a little behind, and maybe, look, to me, we've talked about this a little before. I'd love to see him slow it down a little bit. I don't know how much you usually get tempo that has them slow it down. Oh, you're throwing, man, they take 40% of that. I told you to use the Cash App deal. 40% of that comes right out there, South Texas, but thank you for the super chat. We can discuss how you pay me at the end of the season. We'll talk. All right. You just made a $60 bet, buddy. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. All right. He thinks they're going to have a better scoring defense down in Austin. Might be the freaking easiest money I made. Holy shit. Do you remember the score of Florida State, Oklahoma in the national championship game? Yep. That was, dude, I was so surprised that was the concern going into that game is, the defense definitely stepped it up at the end of the year. They led the way. I mean, Demi Mackey talks about that at times, when he gets to talking about it on Barry and Mac's show, that they kind of carried it early on in the year, but once that defense started clicking, they just shut everybody down. And that was year 2. It was unreal good. They were, it was what, 13-2 was the final score, and they took they put the 2 on the board so that they didn't give them a chance to, like, that ended the game essentially, right? Oh, everywhere. You ain't wrong. Oh, caution, listen to the media guys that are not local. They just don't understand. Suggesting listen to Jason here and a few more local podcasts. Hit that like button. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. That's the thing is I think that what I was talking about earlier is it's just a lack of nuance that goes on around outside of a couple of channels here and there that really pay attention. Unless it's easy to kind of pile on to Brent Venables hasn't been a head coach. This is, they lost a couple of games they shouldn't have lost last year. No nuance to that. It's just Kansas and Oklahoma State. Never mind the fact that Oklahoma State, that game, it is what it is. Never mind the fact that Kansas isn't your freaking grandpa's or even dad's freaking Kansas anymore. Texas lost to Kansas when they had 2 wins. They had 9 wins last year. When's the last time they won 9 games? Probably 25 years ago. Maybe not quite that long. They had that year with Mangino that they did it. Aside from that, they've been trash forever. Under Lance Leipold, not the same. And in the end, there's a lot of things that just lack nuance, period. Bottom line, it just lacks nuance. And that's fine. But I would say that when you do just sit there and talk about those same old song and dance, that's what I was saying. I like Rufino and Joe. I like their show. Doesn't bother me at all. And as I said, I'm enjoying more and more the fact that people have very little respect for what Oklahoma is. I think there's a side of me that thinks that that's just hope, that maybe the more you say this, the more it becomes true, fake it till you make it kind of shit. Fine. To me, the more you poke that bear, the worse it's probably going to get for you. But please do continue. There's a lot of pride among not just the Oklahoma fan base, but the Oklahoma program itself. There's never a time that they're ever going to be okay with mediocrity or worse. There's not. Aside from the 90s, they really haven't had a time where they weren't good at least part of a decade. They've had their little hiccups here and there, but they've stayed relevant and at the top of it. Just because you haven't necessarily won a natty, they've been right there fighting for it a lot of times. and you can take out the Lincoln Riley years and still say that. Right? The playoffs, whatever, 3 times Lincoln Riley went. I would tell you he wouldn't have if he hadn't taken over what they had with Bob Stoops. I think that he's proving that as well, just in view of the fact of how they didn't have nearly that kind of talent backed up for years, and just a proven system that had worked for as long as it had, like they did in Norman. And he ran out of runway quick. Even having the Heisman Trophy quarterback didn't help him. Let's see. 11-1. Screenshot it, print it out. That's what it's going to be. I love it. If Stutzman was healthy, you would have been undefeated. Maybe. That is it's a pretty good name. Pretty good name. Not quite as good as General Booty, though. General Booty. That's the name. Yeah. You are hearing a lot about that too, Monty. Thanks for coming into the show. Good to see you, man. Yeah, I'm enjoying hearing about that. You've heard that Gavin Sawchuk, that dude is what we keep hearing. That dude. And Javonte kind of, showing again that he's more like what he was as a freshman than he was as a sophomore. Being injured the way he was, it makes you wonder why DeMarco kept putting him in. Yeah. Yeah. Love being the underdog as well. Doesn't worry you? Yeah. I think, I was talking about nuance a minute ago, Heinz. This might be true sometimes. When you have a program that is as ready-made as that, you got to take that into consideration. There's a lot of times that coaches step in and win immediately with the program that they had before. You see it a lot in the NFL, a ton. One coach can't finally get it done, and then the next guy kind of pushes them past that spot. If you can get guys to stay, and they got guys to stay in Tuscaloosa, I mean, if you look at Kalen DeBoer's record, they're going to be better on offense. And shit, it's a low bar to be better on offense. But if they're anywhere close to what they were on defense, they're going to be a hell of an out. They're going to be a hell of an out. It's going to be a tough game to win. The guys lost 12 games out of 120 as a head coach. They were 4-8 when he got there at Washington and went 25-3. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on the Alabama sucks thing, because I don't buy it. I know you didn't say Alabama sucks, but who is going to be the most disappointed fan base at the end of next season, SEC and entire college football? This is a great question. I've got a couple of ideas for the SEC, but I would say that Missouri's kind of used to it, but with everything that all this hopium and all this belief in this thing, they struggle to, what's the word I'm looking for? Be in reality at all. Yeah, they're going to really hate it when they go 7-5 or maybe where it could really turn south there. Because let's see, if you look at Mizzou, okay, the Vandy game they win, but they're going to lose Texas A&M. I think they could lose Auburn. They're definitely losing Alabama, Oklahoma. Those are back to back. The wheels could fall off there. South Carolina could beat them. Mississippi State, that might be their one conference win. Arkansas hates them anyway. It's a freaking rivalry. And Drink's been putting up fucking billboards in Arkansas about come to Mizzou. Ballsy. He's from Arkansas, but it's hilarious to me. That's one of the things that I loved about it. But I would say could easily be them. Texas is going to be disappointed. If they go 8-4, like I think they will, how disappointed do you think they're going to be when everybody, you literally have people right now talking about, the funniest thing that I've seen was Texas fans on Twitter arguing about Quinn possibly being the greatest quarterback in Texas history last week. Because he will have won, if he wins, when they win the Natty and he gets the Heisman Trophy. Vince never had the Heisman, and that's like winning 4 bowl games in 1 year. He'll be the most prolific player in Texas history. Whoa. Wow. So, yeah, I think they're going to be upset. You'll say Notre Dame, you say. From Coach?
You know what, guys? In a nice way, fuck y'all. We don't give a shit.
From Coach to you with love. Yeah. A lot of them do. But again, it's a lot of topical conversations that they just, first off, again, I think a lot of it is the fact that you hope that's the case. And I haven't heard a ton of Alabama creators doing that. You don't hear that from the Georgia guys. There's questions from them sometimes. And they'll believe, when it comes to like the Alabama game, you'll hear Alabama creators saying that they're going to beat Oklahoma. Okay. We'll see. I think if Oklahoma ever had as good a chance, as good a chance as they're going to have is, yes, this year, they, hoping that Jalen Milroe isn't as good as everybody's talking about him being. They're light on experience as far as receiving and all that kind of stuff is concerned. Now, I would say that being the second to last game of the year, they're probably going to have most of that shit figured out by then. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. But having them at home is a good situation. Good chance that you could win it. But again, good chance you could lose it too. I believe Ole Miss and Auburn will be big disappointments. I don't think Auburn will be. I think they're a year away at Auburn. I think that Ole Miss could definitely be a disappointment. Anthony Hill's better than Stutzman. Dude, come on. He's not even going to be playing. It sounds to me like he's not playing linebacker much. Or, wait a minute. Opposite of that. I thought he was going to be like your big pass rush guy. And now they're talking about putting him at linebacker. Why? Defense wins championships. Moose said they don't have the natty talent on defense from before. Not proven, but I mean, they're still, if you look at what they've recruited over the last few years, they've recruited those guys. I just think that you haven't had it proven on the D line for sure. You got to see it from the D line. Their secondary looks like they're pretty good. They're a little young, but man, that's what they do at Georgia. I agree. This is a fact. What did Keaton say? Okay. Well, you're talking, so regular season for sure, they don't lose those games is what you're saying. Now, can I get behind that? Sure. I think that what you saw with when Kip Lewis wasn't in the game and Jaron Kanak was, it was a problem. Now we're hearing that Kanak is doing a lot better in the fall and since the spring. Glad to hear that. But last year he was a liability. A liability. See, 10-2. Yeah, see, but like Coach says 11-1, they should go 11-1. He said he'll be disappointed at 10-2. I can see you losing 2 games out of that schedule because I don't know that you just walk into College Station and win week 1. You know, I like their quarterback. I think that I do like their quarterback, but it's your first week. You may not quite be hitting on all cylinders. It's going to be loud in there. We'll see, right? Now they do. I think that they have one of the best defenses in the country without a doubt. And I think they're going to be fine on offense, but I think that could be a slugfest and no telling where that heads. Now the rest of the season, until really the only other loss that you should get anytime during the season would probably be Florida State, and that's way down the road. That's at home. Louisville from last year, you lost that game to last year to them. It's at home. You better not lose it again. I don't think they're as good as they were a year ago. And if you're believing in Tyler Shook, more than likely by the time maybe he's still there, you know, he's been hurt every year that he's been a player. 7 years now, I think. I tend to doubt it. The refs hated Oklahoma the last 2 years. They hated Texas too. They were definitely screwing them. We'll see. Texas not winning 10 games, bro. Come on. Come on. What did Armoused say? Yeah, I don't know that I believe all that either. No one really scares you on OU schedule. Just don't underestimate Auburn and Thorne. Trap game. I said the same thing about South Carolina. I don't think that you should underestimate anybody on this schedule. It's an SEC schedule, and you've got a tough SEC schedule. So I think that's what you want to see from this program, that they make that turn to where you don't get to smelling yourself real early, no matter what it looks like. That's been a problem in the past. It's something that you need to stop doing. But I also would tell you that playing in that, people talk about, well, he was in the Big 12. Well, nobody else dominated the Big 12 the way Oklahoma did. So you can say it was in the Big 12 and that doesn't matter. But how come Texas didn't do that? Bottom line, they won 14 out of 27 Big 12 championships. That's more than half. If it's such an easy league, how come Texas did? And Texas is supposedly elite. How come they didn't do that? Come on. Make it make sense. You still have to go win those games. Now, as you heard from Teddy Lehman, maybe they did get to, it probably didn't help them. There was a good time during that it definitely didn't help Oklahoma to have that period where they went and won 6 straight conference championships, right? And not really super tested. Maybe a couple of those years that you're like, whew, got by on that one. But when you're dominant like that, that tells you that, first off, that masks a lot of scars, right? You can throw some wallpaper up over that shit and it still looks like it's okay. That's what I think happened with Lincoln Riley. His offenses and the quarterback play, even with them kind of getting away with a few here and there. That year that they beat Baylor, they were down 28-3 at one point in that game. And that was with Jalen Hurts. Jalen was awful in the first half of that game. I was in Waco that night. It was crazy. Can't help but get better facing the top 10 defense. No, I agree with that. I think so too. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Well, and I would tell you the other thing was that Jeff Lebby, he called, especially in the Kansas game, he called a shit game. Dylan had 19 passes. Hell, Jason Bean had double that, over 40. I think it was 40-19 pass attempts. They lose by 4. He didn't even give him a chance to win that. I didn't understand it. So stupid. 8-4, you mean, Monty? I think so too. That's what I've been saying. Why? What makes you think that they'll be able to withstand losing a couple of games? And they lost the best parts of their Cody Schrader not walking back through the door. He had 1,600 yards. Now you can say that they're going to replicate that with the guys that they got in, but how do you know? The best parts of their defense, not there. Plus, they lost most of their defensive staff. It's all these questions about Oklahoma, but you don't have the same questions about Missouri. Why? Because of Luther Burden? It wasn't because of Luther Burden and Theo Weiss that they were good last year. The offense did what it did last year, first off, because they played a shitty SEC schedule there. And number 2, because Cody Schrader was a bad dude. 1,600 freaking yards, and he's not there. I don't buy that they're going to – and when they're not really used to winning like that, it can snowball on you fast. The same thing I think about Texas. Once you lose 3, you'll lose 6. No, maybe 4 or 5, but I think it's going to be tough. Yeah, they are. I think, okay, so you're talking about who's going to be disappointed. I think LSU is going to be another disappointed SEC school as well. I do. I agree with that. They didn't do what they needed to do in the portal. And you got Brian Kelly making excuses about how they don't pay football players. So we're not buying players here. Just women's basketball players, but not football players. Come on. It's not nuts. You don't tell me how nuts I am when you won't even make any bets there, Bevo. Sawtruck and Barnes both get stopped by running backs and the blockers in front of them. We'll see. Texas will be disappointed if they miss the CFP. Well, won't they be? Yeah, I agree. I think that, yeah, that's what I said. There's pretty high expectations there. It seems like some of the creators are starting to tamp down those expectations a little bit because they realize that it's going to be really hard for them to be better. And they were, even if they're a little better on, I mean, they better be better on defense. How much better? If they're putting, how is Harold Perkins not going to rush edge? I mean, he had an unbelievable freshman year and he hasn't played in that position since. Make that make sense. Just talking about putting him at middle linebacker. That's fucking crazy. I didn't say it's the same result. I think they might beat you differently, though, Hines. Okay. I get it. I get what you're saying. Where was he before the Huskies? Fresno State. Did really good there, too. And then when he was the OC at Indiana, now, and he was there with Womack, that was the year that they were really good. In the Big Ten, anyway. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you're just expecting that offense is going to be. You think it's going to be Ole Miss that disappoints? Ooh, I like it, Shoddy. I like it. Quinn will be better than Vince. Yeah, can you believe that shit? Wildest shit I heard ever. I was like, that's blasphemous. That's like somebody ought to you ought to kick your own ass for saying shit like that. I hate Texas, and not a fan of Vince Young. One of the best college football players I've ever seen, ever. And that season was one of the most amazing performances by anybody ever that I've seen, period. And I covered college football for the better part of it, that I was covering it full time, almost 10 years. So I didn't see anything like it in that time. Unbelievable. Anthony Hill starting middle linebacker. Why? That's wild. That's not who I'm thinking about. I'm talking about LSU. I've heard it about LSU with Harold Perkins that they're going to put him at middle linebacker too. In fact, I think I heard that on Rufino's show. Wild. Yeah, man, they're going to be fine. You want to talk about it? I can't. That game is going to be insane in Tuscaloosa this year. Woo. You think that Vanderbilt will be a disappointment? Yeah, going out on a limb there, are you, Greg? Yeah, hot take. You're just running up those timeouts there, buddy. Sick of it. Blazing hot take. Notre Dame loses to Aggie. Which win would be their statement win when it comes to the CFP committee? I think if they are 10-2, it doesn't matter. If they're 10-2, that means that they had to have beaten Florida State, or USC. And USC, no matter what, it's on the road. It's a rivalry game. You've got that one, and then what else? Let's see, the Louisville game, maybe. I don't know. I think they need to win one of those games between. But here's the thing. I don't think it matters. When it comes to the committee is going to go by who's going to get us the best ratings. At 10-2, Notre Dame is that team. They're not leaving Notre Dame out of the playoff at 10-2. Just understand that. If I'm wrong, I'd be super surprised. At 11-1 for damn sure, but no way they leave a 10-2 Notre Dame out. It just doesn't happen. No way. Right. They had beef about them being in the league because they came from a weak conference. Yeah. It wasn't it. Look, there was a time that the Big 12 was the best conference, for a good while. But at the last 15 plus years, it's been the SEC, no doubt. Conference of brotherly love now. Look, I think that the Big 12 is going to be entertaining. I think that they're going to cannibalize themselves a little bit because I don't know that there's a ton of difference between some of those top teams. I think, we did that show with Ty, and I think there were 7 of us on that show. 6 of us picked a different champion when we were on that show. It was me and Smook and Coach Sean and Jake, Ty, PG, I think Jay. Oh yeah, and we all had a different champ for it, except for I think 2 guys had picked maybe K-State or Utah. I forget now. It's been a while, but wild though. It could be anybody. If you could end up with 2 9-3 teams playing for the championship, which means they'll only get 1. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But I don't know that it matters on the whole. Kyle, that's awesome. I'm going to leave that there for a second. Yeah, no shit. That's a good question. So let's say, even though I know that you guys don't want to play this game, what happens if they don't win 10 games with that schedule? Is Sark in trouble if he doesn't make it back? That's weird, right? I mean, well, let's put it to you this way. Like, they beat K-State at home at the buzzer on like a 63-yard field goal from the thicker kicker. They did the same thing against Florida, pretty much at the buzzer, 56, 58 yards, something like that. Same thing right at the end of the game. Both Florida kind of screwed up their chances. K-State had multiple opportunities to put the game away, and they were ahead by like 10 in the fourth quarter and let them back in. Not good. Not good. And when you look at what Mizzou did, their conference opponents, their 6 wins against conference opponents, those 6 teams went 14-34 overall. So a lot of people talking about how good Mizzou is. What tells us that? And what would tell you that they can afford to lose a couple of those games and all of a sudden they can't lose to Arkansas or can't lose to who else? Let's see. I mean, you mean to tell me that A&M's not going to beat them? I tend to think they will. You mean to tell me Auburn can't? South Carolina can't? Arkansas can't? Come on. Mm-hmm. If y'all lose to Michigan, OU, Georgia, and either A&M or Kentucky and Mississippi State, say Texas goes 7. Oof. Look, that's what I say the same thing. Both Missouri and Texas, they haven't had enough success in the last decade that you can believe that they're going to do it if they were to go through a struggle like that. And Texas has proven that they won't stick with you. And before last year, there were a lot of people that were thinking, maybe Sark isn't that good. We heard it a ton because they just went 8-5 with Bijan and Roshan and Quinn and all those same guys that just got drafted last year, and they went 8-5. Underachiever. 7-win Sark. Baxter was the engine. I don't know that's. I think Jaden Blue is better than Baxter, but that's just me. You could lose any of them. You'll make a bet right now with who? On what? You haven't even made the bet on. You're not allowed to make bets, Bevo, until you make that bet with me. I don't know. I don't think that they lost much there. And I'm not saying Baxter's not good. I think he was good, but I also think that they have. I think Trey Wisner was really good. We hadn't seen a lot out of him yet, but I just like the way he runs and stuff. And he just kind of a little under. I mean, look, I know DeMarco was working his ass off to get him. Mm-hmm. Babalo told Will Fine he's going to wait and see who has a good season this year to choose a team. I saw that last night or today earlier. Yeah, we'll see. Again, I think they're fine on offensive line. I think that Fasusi's, I think he's going to be a Sooner. I think no matter what happens, Oklahoma's offensive line will be just fine. Just fine. Oh, I was going to say, throwing interceptions. Hmm. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that game. Bloody. What's up, dude? Man, I'm way behind again, looks like. All right. We've been going almost 2 hours here. What we got here? Starters is saying Bond has an entitlement issue, feels he should be wide receiver 1 regardless. Yeah, and apparently Amari Nyblack doesn't know the playbook, so Oh man. I loved hearing that one. Yeah, what's up with that kid, Jimmy Lee? I meant to ask you about that. What was that shit about? So he flipped from Bama to Auburn, and now he got arrested. Oh no. So they don't there's no weed laws in Alabama, I guess. Or it was just too much weed. That's awesome. Yeah, that was coming out of those that was coming from Ty and them. But not Ty, it came out of the coaching staff from the last year or so, and Ty and them heard about it. I heard about it on the show with them. So. I saw that on Twitter. How he said to the Department of Corrections. It's wild. They're really gonna throw a 5-star dude from Bama in jail in Bama when he could because he went to Auburn because he's flipped to Auburn right now. That's some funny shit. He had a lot of weed. It's highly illegal. He'll likely go to jail. Wow. Is it because he's an Auburn guy though? Yeah, I get it. I bet you would. Yeah, Benji's not wrong. He's not lying about that. Except it's highly illegal in Texas too. He's gonna need to go somewhere like California, Oklahoma. Nah, they wouldn't have him if that's the case there at OU because they're not putting up with that shit. Hey. Yeah, I saw that old Brinsky Sharp was pretty pissy about somebody saying that about the Department of Education or Department of Bureau of Prisons or whatever it is, the Alabama Department of Corrections. Oh yeah, it is decriminalized, right? Yeah, sometimes you kind of need to. Sometimes you kind of need to. It's weed, man. Who gives a shit? But a certain amount of it in cash and stuff means that you're kind of doing what you shouldn't, and they're not gonna. I mean, you know, come on, bro. Now, we've seen Saban turn his back on. I mean, wasn't that kid from last year, the Florida kid that they busted? He didn't really care about that, did he? But it's not about that. If you're in prison, you can't play. Yeah, that's kind of surprising because I figured that Texas, no matter what, I know it's an Austin thing, but Texas is not going to legalize it. Be the last ones to do it. Gary Patterson literally had a drug ring on campus at TCU. Of course he did. It's TCU. Otherwise, how are you going to get them to come there? Oh, where are you telling me to take your pistol? That's too much. That's what Hank keeps saying for sure there, Sooner Cowboys. Yep, I agree. We don't always agree on everything, Benji. I've said that a bunch over the last year that was the Big 12. That was when you knew that the Big 12 was completely ridiculous. They had already, look, the old president at Oklahoma vetted out all the teams that they ended up letting into the Big 12 once Oklahoma and Texas decided to leave. That should have been done long before all that, and they didn't do it. They didn't add the teams they needed to add. And then on top of not adding teams, it's like they just decided to get lazy and we won't even bother with the conference championship game. Never mind the fact the rest of the Power Five has the conference championship game and they're looking for a reason to keep you out. Plus you had an amazing game between Baylor and TCU earlier in the year. What a game that would have been. Stupidest shit I've ever seen. And it kept them out. Yeah, I agree with you. I think TCU wins that going away. I also think that Baylor might have too. If they'd have won that, if they'd have found a way to win that game in the conference title game. They were good. They were good. Stupidest shit I've ever heard of, man. I was that was my last year, like really covering the Big 12 mostly. I was covering. I went to Vegas after that. It was the stupidest shit I'd ever seen, though. Wild. I don't know where he's at. I hadn't heard anything. I heard he might be, but I don't know. I don't know where. Oh no, he is. He's at he's Baylor. He's at Baylor of all places. But I think he's just a consultant though. He just left. It was an odd fit. Although so is Kendall Briles at TCU. It's a little weird, you know. They mutually parted ways. Yeah, he was probably getting shit thrown at him on campus and stuff like that. Maybe shot at. We know Baylor's a little bit different. A little different. Baptists are a little wild down there. Steve Lees. Oklahoma goes 11-1 with a loss at Ole Miss or at home to Bama. Worst case, they lose both games, but I don't see it. Steve Lees. I like it. We'll see. I haven't predicted that. I'm saying 9-3, possibly 10-2 if everything goes well, but I think 9-3. I think it's been okay. I don't think that they're in the same place that the defense is at right now. There, Mike. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for the question. Guys, let me take a look real quick at the. All right, so we've had 600 viewers in here so far. If you're on Twitter watching us, because we are streaming there as well, and on Facebook, do me a favor and go to @CFB-pod on YouTube. Hit that like button at least. We only have 52 likes out of 600 people that have been in the stream. Jump in and hit the like button, man. We'd love it if you'd become a subscriber on YouTube. This is how content creators get paid. I mean, the biggest thing for us is, we don't ask for you to give us money a lot, but we appreciate it if you could hit that like button, make sure that we get seen by the algorithm, and then we get paid by the advertising that comes with it. That helps. The more that people hit that like button or become subscribers, the more that they recommend our channel. So do me a favor, jump over there and do that. If you could, you can go right back to watching it where you were, but get those likes up, fellas. Get those likes up. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I'll say that. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah, that's what, man. Well, Professor was in here earlier, and I wanted to bring that up to him and forgot about it. But I know that they lost their running back at Texas A&M as well. I did hear that had happened there at Florida. I don't know if it's a for the season deal. It sounds to me like their number one back at A&M is done for the year too. So that's, you've had a lot of guys that have hit that, but we'll see. What are you talking about now? I love hearing old king stories about the king. Yeah, pretty wild. It's tough, man. It's tough. Sergeant Duck AP poll was released. I knew it was coming out today, but I hadn't actually seen it yet. Thank you there, JC Lamb. Let's look it over and then we'll get out of here. All right. All right. So top 10, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, number 5, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan, Florida State. Pretty much the same as the ESPN one. 11 Mizzou, 12 Utah, 13 LSU, 14 Clemson, 15 Tennessee, 16 Oklahoma. Then Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Miami, A&M at number 20. Then Kansas, SC at 23, NC State at 24, and Iowa at 25. Others receiving votes. Looks like Louisville's just outside the top 25. Virginia Tech, Boise State, SMU, Iowa State, Liberty, Washington, West Virginia. There's a lot of people that like West Virginia a lot more than that, particularly with Garrett Green, right? What has Oregon done that BV hasn't? Nothing. They've got talent there, but look, the one thing I would tell you about Oregon is that they have to play Michigan and Ohio State, but that's the toughest part of their schedule. And they get Ohio State at home. You think Ohio State wins it all? I'll believe that shit when I see it. Chicken. It is a nice schedule for them. They really ranked Aggie number 20. I think that's respect for Mike Elko. There's not a whole lot of guys that have won games at Duke. Not a whole lot of guys. Well, Oregon's better than Texas. Come on now. Think Chip's the X Factor? I think it could be. I think you may not be wrong there. But there's a lot of pressure on that. I mean, hell, even Urban's like best roster ever at Ohio State. Hey, thanks, coach. if you're Ryan Day, you're like, fuck you, Urban. A&M's, I don't know how bad they are. Assuming that they, I mean, you know, shit, he ain't the only running back they got. And I'm telling you that I think Colin Klein's a good offensive coordinator. They're going to run a better offense than they've had at A&M in a while. It'll be 21st century. I think they're going to be okay. And defensively, they're going to shut some people down. Now, I don't know that don't get me thinking that, don't get me acting like Texas A&M is going to the playoff, because I don't believe that shit. I think they beat Texas, though. What the hell is Oregon? Is in Oregon to get all these players to play? Money. Yeah, well, yeah. Nike, money. They love the, man, there's an attraction to Oregon for players, man. And it's not just money. I think that Lanning's done a really good job with that, but they never have a hard time recruiting. He's probably a better coach than Cristobal, but I don't know about how much yet. We haven't seen it yet. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, and look, well, I mean, Ross Bjork had just become the athletic director there too, he was coming from Texas A&M. They did the same shit there. Welcome in, Sean. Out for a few months, lower leg. Why Cincinnati? They weren't good last year. What made them better? We'll see, man. Well, the good news is that where you start doesn't matter. It's where you finish. So the one thing about this is that this actually, you know, it does have, people say that it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect it at all. It does once you get down to the end, you know, how many wins you have over ranked and blah, blah, blah. The hope is that Texas doesn't completely fall apart, because that hurts you as a win. If you ended up at 9-3 with OU's schedule, looking at it as you look at it right now, you can see Oklahoma getting in. You're hearing people saying that kind of stuff. And they better not. I mean, all the shit that they've said throughout all this, you know, offseason of how brutal the schedule is, and that's another reason why there's no way Oklahoma's going to be very good, blah, 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 blah. You have to figure that you can't use the excuse, well, that these teams weren't as good as they were. Well, I thought you said everybody in the SEC is tough, and they had tough road games. So they get to 9-3 or 10-2, you can't. I think any 10-2 SEC team's going in, but that's just me. Who's over them? I mean, any of the guys behind them up until probably Florida State, maybe Missouri, up until Missouri. Yeah, I could play this game all day. Hey, man, thanks. Good to see you, man. Good to see you, Coach. Yeah. Well, there's money involved. That's what everybody says, though. But it's, you know who's saying that? Teams that aren't beating them in recruiting. They're not blaming themselves for not recruiting well enough and making good enough, relationships, building good enough relationships to win the day. If you just put it on money, it's just like I said about the rest of college football teams. There's no nuance in it. If you're really trying to tell me that Texas lost somebody to Oregon because they're overpaying, come on. If you needed that guy and you weren't willing to match what they had, then that's on you. But I doubt that that's the case. I don't think it's just about that. I think that there's something else to do. With Oregon itself, they love the uniform stuff. They've been like that for a while, and they are behind. And look, DJU's dad, Mateo goes there. They love Coach Lanning. NIL is always going to be a part of it, but you can't be one of those programs that spends money too and talk shit about Oregon spending money. You can't do it. Not allowed. Not allowed. Not on here. Tennessee's underrated? Yes, they are. They got a massive target. Correct. Correct. This is true though about a lot of kids, and for a long time. A long time. They love that shit up there at Oregon. They did right by doing that. And if you're not a blue blood, what else are you gonna do? But the money part of it, everybody can spend money, so I don't want to hear that shit. At Texas, especially with all the oil money and billionaires that are a part of that donor base, don't give me that crap. You don't get to do it. Yeah. Yeah, Montrell Johnson for that's not good. That's not good. Not good. We're not in the business of buying players was the direct quote. We're not in the business of buying players. Just women's basketball players. BK. All right. Let's look at 12 Utah. Okay. I don't know that I believe in them that much, even with Cam Rising. They should win the Big 12, either them or K-State, and I think it's K-State, actually. I don't know. There's a lot of love for Utah that I'm not real sure about. I think that they're one of the top 2 teams in that league, but I think there's a bunch of teams that could win it. I don't understand why people are still in love with Clemson. And we know Oklahoma State's not staying there. Oklahoma's going up. But I don't care where they got them. It's fine with me. Florida or Miami, we'll see. We got to see it from old Mario Cristobal. Why did Zona drop 10 places from last week? Oh, or is this is the first week of it, isn't it? That's from last year then. Yeah, it's week 1. Never mind. Yeah, this isn't the problem for Texas. You know what's a big deal for Texas right now is that they're not getting those guys on defense. Lincoln Riley 2.0. What Terry? Not Justice Terry, right? Oh, I don't. Let me see all this. Who is it? Which Terry are you talking about? If Clemson can beat UGA and FSU, they'll be back. It's a huge if, Moosehead. Mhm. Now this, I'm okay. But what I'm telling you is that I don't buy it coming from places like Texas that are, got Lamborghinis out in front of DKR when they have recruiting weekend and shit like that. They're recruiting on flash and not substance there anyway. And then saying, well, they're overpaying for them up there at Oregon. They're dropping bags on them. What the fuck are y'all doing? It's just not working. That's what I say. Lincoln didn't have neither did Sark. Those guys were already there. We'll see. 2 of the best edge rushers and a top 100 linebacker committed right now too. Okay. Where's those interior guys? Those are the ones I'm talking about, and those are the most important ones. You know this, Benji. I don't buy this shit right here. They were on DK Moore. Decoria Moore. All I heard from you guys was how he was Texas all the way. Don't give me that shit. And he goes to a Texas school. There's no way you should lose that guy. So what? So they get a bunch of wide receivers. I get it. Again, where's those D-line guys, those interior guys on the D-line that you got to win with? That's all we've heard. Lincoln Riley 2.0. Where did Lockett end up? Oh, really? It hadn't yet. You're acting like getting rid of Bo was a good thing. Are you shitting me? Chicken, tell him. You guys are a trip, man. Let's see what else we got here. So they're asking, okay, so on the Athletic, they were asking about, is it time to panic at Colorado, South Carolina, and Texas Tech? I thought that was the one thing that Joey was doing well at Texas Tech. And if he's not recruiting very well right now, what do they need him for? Wow. What do you guys think about I don't even care about that. Big Ten versus SEC. Who would win a 16-game showdown? Is this a real question? Come on. So FIU gets a stadium before Miami, huh? Wow. Wild. Who is the first? Let's see. So the Sharma deal. I don't know. I'm not really buying all that, but because I keep hearing that. I think a lot of that is going to have to do with what they get done there. But good for them if they did get them. It's about damn time. Okay. Don't tell me that you guys were not all excited about DeCorian Moore, because you were. But that's when, you know what? This is when you don't want him. This is when you don't want him if he becomes that guy. Yeah. Nobody goes and watches him at the Orange Bowl. That's for freaking sure. Yeah, I don't know. 5-star wide receivers. I mean, wide receivers haven't been y'all's problem, though. It's not like it's been. Yeah, I've been pretty good at the receiver position. And tight end, nobody's better right now. Academic school. Yeah. Hmm. All right. Casa Bonita. That's pretty funny Cartman stuff, too. Indeed. All right. What else we got? I'm going to go for another 10 minutes and then we're done. Is Florida no longer a destination program? So they've been recruiting pretty well. I don't know, but if they continue to, that's a negative recruiting situation. Everybody and their mother saying that Billy is gone, no matter what. Yeah. Well, and that's same with UCF, man. They got huge. UCF has the biggest alumni base in the country because of how many students go to that school. It's insane. Diploma mill. Big community college. Hey, yeah, they have. It's like University of San Francisco. It's now a JUCO or community college, pretty much. It is a JUCO. I know a kid that went there to play football, and then went to Texas Tech. One of Coach's old players. We still got a lot of people in there. All right, so we are now at 800 people been watching. 63 likes. Come on, folks. Help us out. Oh, UCF adopted Onikuno. Onikuno's my boy. Yeah, I do. I do think they can hold up week to week. Okay, so this is a good. All right, so he says you think OU defense can hold up week to week in the SEC. They're going to face some good offenses. Tennessee will be their first SEC game. I'm not sure the defense will be strong enough to win 8 or 9 games. Okay. So first off, you're assuming that Tennessee's going to come in and with the first-year quarterback against the Brent Venables defense with a lot of guys with experience, the number 2 ranked secondary and number 2 ranked linebacker core, according to Phil Steele, with a top 20 defensive line, according to Phil Steele. And they're going to be, if they're throwing crazy shit at Jackson Arnold in fall camp and which is making him struggle against them, you don't think they're going to do the same thing to Tennessee at home first game. Look, I'm not saying that Tennessee's doesn't have a chance in that game. I'm telling you, that's a tough for any first-year quarterback. He's going to make it hard on them. Guaranteed, nothing they get on film from the first 4 weeks will be what he sees. Period. There won't even be a set that he sees for the first 3 weeks headed into that game. They'll have nothing for him. He's in deep shit. I think Nico is going to be a really good quarterback. I think that that's a tough place for you to first SEC game. They're getting beat there. That's just me. Then you got, okay, so you play. Yeah, listen, I would tell you that my biggest concern would be the Ole Miss game and Alabama as far as offenses are concerned. Definitely. Auburn, they have a shitty quarterback. They got really good receivers. We'll find out, right? Ole Miss, I mean, they're going to throw some stuff at you, but Jackson Dart hasn't been great, though. Not in big games. Missouri, I think, is fool's gold. I do. They lost. The best part of their offense was not Luther Burden. You have to remember that. It was not Luther Burden. It was Cody Schrader. And Luther Burden and Cook, both the back part of the year, they weren't near as good as they had been early in the year. Schrader was their guy, and they lost some of their linemen too. You think Tennessee offense is better than who? Tennessee offense is better than who, Brandon? I get it, and that's not what I'm saying. You got to wait and see, and plus you're going to their house, so yeah, it's Hugh Freeze. But again, and what I would tell you is the same thing I just said about. It's opposite of what I just said about Tennessee, though, is that you get there. Yeah, at least if there's anything good about Peyton Thorne, I don't think much of him, but he's got experience, so. It's not just about that, though, but are you going to be able to get him open? And here's the thing. They're going to throw some shit. If they can't establish the run in the same way that they did with Cody Schrader a year ago, that means that they become a little one-dimensional. They'll find ways to get to him. Their running game cannot fall off, or they're in deep shit. Not just against Oklahoma. But Oklahoma's going to kick the shit out of Mizzou, just so you know. Kick the shit out of Mizzou. Yeah. But who's going to be – they don't have a ton of wide receiver issues. They got O-line issues for sure, and the back end is in deep shit. Tennessee's a toss-up. Auburn is a straight-up. Look at there. Just asking for that shit. Yeah, we were talking about it earlier there. Spangler, welcome into the show. What did you think about the AP poll? At least 3 steps back. I think they're as fraudulent as anybody I've seen in a long time. They haven't done shit. And they lost their defensive staff, replaced it, lost a bunch of guys that were good on that defense. I think that's a problem. And look, they got away with some games last year. Don't forget that Missouri, the 6 wins they had against SEC teams were against SEC teams that went 14-34 overall. 6 teams, that's a little over 2 wins per school. I'm here thinking Big Ten country. Nobody thought high of Peyton Thorne. He wasn't very good. He wasn't very good. He had 3,000 yards that one year that they lucked into 11 wins and got Midnight Mail 100 mil, and then was trash after that. He had 3,000 yards that year, and he was but he was also a runner. So it was a good one season. He hadn't been close to that since. The under on that, yeah. The under on Missouri, yeah, that's 9. Yep. No, that's where I'm at on it. Again, and it's not just because they're talking all that shit. It's that I think that you just can't buy it. I think Drink's just a nerd. It's Millhouse. I did see it. Dude, Jason Beam was good. He was a backup, but a lot of guys would be a backup to freaking a lot of dudes would be a backup to Jalen. A lot of people would be a backup. Jalen, too bad he doesn't stay healthy. I hope he does this year for you guys. Yeah, let's do that.
The brand has finally returned. Fuck your brand.
I can see him losing to Arkansas. To Arkansas. Just because it's fun.
You know what, guys? In a nice way, fuck y'all. We don't give a shit.
That's for you, Benji. Hey, yeah, there's the other. Okay. I hadn't brought this up in a while. The thicker kicker's not there anymore either. That was 2 of their wins on long, long field goals at the gun. No damn way. I had to see that shit before I buy it again. No way. I'm fixing to get out of here, Bishop Frank. Which one, Coach?
You know what, guys? In a nice way, fuck y'all. We don't give a shit.
Oh, I love me some Coach. Oh, too good. All right, folks, I'm out of here. I got to get some stuff done. But listen, make sure that you get in there and hit that like button, please. Share us with your friends. Man, we're getting a lot of views. We're not getting any added subscribers, man. And we hadn't had as many likes as we should probably have. We are still stuck on 3720, man. Under 3 weeks from game time, I really wanted to be at 4,000. That means we're going to have to get our hustle on to get there, man. Help us out. Share us with people that love college football should be watching this show. We give a lot of entertainment. We like a lot of interaction, love doing it. But, you know, we need to get those numbers up, man. Get those numbers up. Help us out a little bit. If you haven't already checked out our official show merchandise store, you should definitely do that. HOFmedia.us/pod-merch. For all you non-Texas fans, there's a lot of anti-Texas gear in there. You'll like it a lot. Get in there and check it out. In fact, the newest item that we have up, and let me actually present it real quick. I'm going to show it to you. Oops, wrong one. One real quick. Let me find it. This is one of our new, and we got them in shirts and hats here. But kind of playing off of that deal for the SEC. It always meant more in Oklahoma. We've got that in shirts and caps. Get in there and check that out on HOFmedia.us/pod-merch. Also, listen, you should definitely be checking out Mint Mobile. Huge deal. You know, 3 months unlimited talk, text, and data for just $45 a month. That's or $45 total, which is $15 a month. This is on the nation's largest 5G network, Mint Mobile. Look, I switched over after I didn't even wait the full 3 months. I switched over on 2 phones. I'm saving $1,600 this year. You can take the phone that you already have and try it out for 3 months. You don't have to get rid of your service that you have right now. Test it out. Make sure that you like it. It's way worth doing it for $45. We're talking $15 a month. Once I switched over those 2 phones, now I'm paying $1,600 less for a year than what I did with Verizon. It works. And listen, there's been no drop off. It's unlimited talk, text, and data. Well, after the 3 months, it goes up to $30 a month for the same plan. You can bring your own phone. You can do it all online. Try mintmobile.com/HOF. It definitely helps out the program, but it'll help you out as well. All right, guys. The main thing, the free way, just hit the damn like button. Just hit the like button. Appreciate it. Let's see. Appreciate it, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. 69 likes. Hit the like. Yeah, come on now. Usually share the schedule real quick. We're always on at on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is 10:15 Eastern in the morning for the Rise and Shine College Football. Tuesday nights, it's the coach and I at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. Same show. It'll be on that show as well. And then, you know, sometimes we do some more lives during the week. We're starting to ramp up and start getting ready for we're trying to add some stuff for the season. Got some cool stuff coming up, man. We're excited about it. So make sure, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Rise and Shine College Football at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 on Tuesday nights. That's the show that we started with. That's always on Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on CFB-Pod. Appreciate it. Fight till midnight. Delray Collins. Hey, man, I appreciate everybody that came in. Good to see everybody. Spangler, that's awesome. I got a t-shirt idea. Oklahoma football. What else we got to do? Facts. Yeah, you're not wrong. Hey, appreciate it, Drew. Good stuff. Delray, thank you, Boomer. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah, appreciate everybody. Yeah. Look, if you hadn't hit that like button, man, what's the matter with you? Hit the damn like button. Make sure you wipe your feet, do the right thing, especially if you're one of those trolls. Make sure you hit that like button. All right, guys. Appreciate everybody coming in. We will see you all on the next one.